All right, welcome. We are glad you have joined us for our webinar this afternoon, talking about the um, Florida Arts Model Schools program. My name is Kevin Levine, and I am the assistant principal at Harrison School for the Arts in Lakeland, Florida, in Polk County, and I am the FAMS consultant for the 2017-18 school year. And we also have with us Julie.
Hey, hi. Kevin, I'm going to interrupt for just 1 second the flow of our presentation and ask Gary a question, our moderator. Gary, all of a sudden, I'm not able to click through. Oh, there it went. It wasn't clicking before. Now it is. So never mind. Problem solved. That's good news. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Julie A. Bear, and I am the former FAAE Executive Director as of just 5 days ago. I've transitioned into a new position as the Visual and Performing Arts Curriculum Specialist for the School District of Manatee County. But I'm still involved with the organization and working with them to consult on some of our programs as they move through the transition on their end.
And with that transition, just so everybody's aware, FAAE has hired an interim management consultant. Her name is Allison Pruitt, and she's going to be handling the FAAE operations while the board conducts a national search for a new executive director for the organization.
All right, so before we get started with content, I want to take a minute to recognize and thank our FAMS partners. This process would not be in place if it weren't for the generous funding we receive from the Florida Department of Education as part of our Arts for a Complete Education grant. We call it the ACE grant for short. And when this program was being developed, we worked very closely with the 4 state arts associations to set up what would be considered a model in each of the arts content areas and bring the best of the best to this program. And of course, the 4 are listed there for you on the screen. We have the Florida Art Education Association, the Florida Association for Theater Education, the Florida Dance Education Organization, and the Florida Music Education Association. So, a little FAMS history. This program is entering its 3rd year. We started the program in 2013 with the development stage. Prior to the FAMS program, there were several other recognition programs throughout the state for arts areas. FAAE had another program called the Arts Achieve Model Schools. And if you've taught in the state for a while, you may recall that that program, in order to receive the recognition, you had to qualify for designation in all 4 arts content areas. So it really limited the number of schools that were eligible because throughout the state, most schools do not have all 4 arts content areas. So this program allowed us to broaden the number of people who would qualify because now you have the option to apply for an individual designation in just 1 content area up to all 4 content areas. And also, prior to this program, the Florida Music Education Association, they worked in partnership with the Department of Education to manage the Music Demonstration Schools program. And they did that for a number of years. And just prior to this program beginning, the Florida Art Education Association was starting to run a similar model with the DOE for visual art. And at that point, the DOE said, you know, gosh, we have 3 different programs going on that we're managing, and they decided it would, you know, make sense to merge the 3 into 1. And that's how the Florida Arts Model Schools came to be. And as I said, we worked with those 4 associations as we were developing the content and the requirements for the Model Schools program. Also, I want to point out that if you have questions at any time throughout the presentation, feel free to type them into the question box and we'll see those. And as we go through, if we see questions pop up, we'll try to address those And if we haven't by the end, and if we run out of time, feel free to email us with the, we'll have our contact information for you on the last slide.
Okay, so what is the purpose of the Florida Arts Model Schools program? First of all, the purpose is to identify excellence in arts education programs throughout the state of Florida. Where the designees for the program then serve as models to other teachers and school administrators seeking to improve and enhance the arts education programs at their schools. And then the third kind of prong is that the schools and classrooms selected for the recognition become an open resource and collaborate in providing some professional development opportunities to others throughout the state. So what are the designation benefits if you go through the process and you're named a model school? What's the benefit to you? Well, the first thing is it's a 3-year designation, so it carries, you get to be promoted as a Florida Arts Model School for the next 3 years. The designation is actually announced via an e-blast from the Department of Education. You get recognition on our website, the FAA website, and then the awards are actually presented during our 2018 FAA Leadership Summit, which is in the summer. That'll take place in June, and we'll reference those specific dates later on in the presentation. So you get the awards presented at the luncheon, and then there are funds, recognition funds dollars that go along for the support of the partnership plan.
All right, so the FAMS application, it is extensive. I highly recommend that if you're considering the application that you start as soon as possible, because you'll find that there are a lot of videos and other things that are going to take time and scheduling to be able to complete and submit that by the due date. With that in mind, the application focuses on 6 critical success factors. We've listed them here for you, and we will break it down and go through what each of those factors looks like a little more closely, but these are the most important elements of your application, and each is weighted with a number of points based on the elements within that criterion.
And so we're going to go through each of the critical success factors one at a time. Julie, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but they have access not only to the application, but they can see the scoring rubric. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. So that would be another thing to make sure you look at as you're going through the application, so you know exactly what the reviewers are going to be looking for as they score your application. So critical success factor number 1 is leadership. So there are 2 requirements that we're looking for here. The first is that you're going to upload a letter from a district supervisor. So if you have a fine arts supervisor or coordinator for your district or your county, a letter endorsing your program and the strength of the particular area you're applying for, whether it might be music, dance, or maybe it's music and dance or music and theater. So that letter is going to show support from the district. Now, there are some districts, obviously, that don't have necessarily a fine arts person. In those cases, then whoever in the district office is tasked with overseeing the arts education for the county as part of their duties would be the person who would write that letter of recommendation. It might be maybe just the K-12 curriculum director or something along those lines. The second part of this this success factor is a letter from your administrator, from your building administrator, so your principal, supporting and talking about your program.
All right, thank you, Kevin. One thing I wanted to point out about the district letter of support before we move on to the next slide is when the reviewers are looking at the applications, they see many letters from many different applicants, and some of the applicants are from the same district. And they do notice and take into account if the letter of support is similar or exactly the same for all of the schools. It really helps increase the number of points you get for that category if the letters are specific and catered to the individual school and highlight things that are special and important about that particular school. All right, critical success factor 2 is highly qualified and effective arts teachers, and this category is worth a total of 60 points. The first section is the arts teachers certifications, and that is just simply inputting the teacher certification number with the Department of Education into the application, and we will just run through and check those on the DOE website, and as long as everybody's certified, it's 10 easy points. The next item is the arts teachers written self-reflections, and within that category, the teachers should be considerate and reflective on their philosophical approach to teaching in the classroom, and also discuss, continuous professional development. What are they doing to continue to advance their knowledge and expertise in their content area? Definitely mention any professional associations they belong to, any advanced degrees. If they're national board certified, that's certainly nice to know. Those are things that teachers should be mentioning in their reflections. And then again, that is also worth 10 points. The third item is the arts teachers instructional videos, and that is worth 30 points. This is one 15-minute video. You can submit longer than 15, but the reviewers will shut it off at 15 minutes, where at the beginning of the video, the teacher should announce the date and the title of the class that they're instructing. And it's just 15 minutes with one class. So if a teacher if a teacher has 6 classes on their schedule, they don't need to submit a video for each of their classes. It just needs to be a video for one of their classes, and just one 15-minute video per teacher in the content area. So if you're applying for music and you have 3 music teachers on your campus, then you would want to have all 3 music teachers submit a 15-minute video from one class. And then the fourth item is the lesson plans, and the lesson plans should be should accompany what's being taught in the video. So a reviewer can be following the lesson plan, and that way, because the video is just 15 minutes, if there's something that's not referenced in the video, if we thought, well, did they, what was the assessment for that lesson, then they can refer to the lesson plan to see what might have occurred prior to or after the video was filmed. And that is worth 10 points. And there is a lesson plan template that we ask you to use. And it is something that you download from the application site, and you'll complete that and then upload it with your application. And also note that when you submit a lesson plan to FAAE, it becomes the property of FAAE, and we might utilize it as part of another program we run, which is the CPALM's arts lesson plans and resources that we're working on to submit and have published on CPALMS.
Okay, so that brings us to critical success factor number 3, which is curriculum. So we have a total of 70 points available in this area, and you can see the breakdown. So curriculum plan or pacing guide is the first one there, and that's 10 points. That should be a copy of the district or the school adopted standards-based arts curriculum plan. So we're looking for standards-based. Now, a big note that I will make here. This does not mean that you are just uploading a list of the standards or uploading a link to CPALMS to the course code directory or some of the other things that we've seen get submitted. It should be some kind of pacing guide or curriculum map, curriculum plan that shows, okay, these are the standards that we are using and are being taught, and this is the plan that shows that they're being covered throughout the school year. The next one down there is arts courses and course code numbers. This one is simply really a list of all the courses that are taught at the school during the school day, and then the course codes that tie along with those. So if you're a high school music program, you know, you're going to list band 1, band 2, band 3, band 4, and so you would make sure you list all of those courses and course codes that are provided during the school day. You may have enrichment things after the school day, but we're looking for what is happening during the official student contact day. The next thing down is examples of student work. So what you're going to do is you're going to provide a link to a video containing examples of student work for each area you're applying for the designation. So if you're applying for all 4 areas, then you should be submitting 4 links to 4 different videos. Each video is highlighting that particular area. The video should be no more than 6 minutes per content area. So I know my background is that I was, prior to moving in administration, I was a high school band director for 11 years. So as a high school music person, you know, I understand in 6 minutes I have to show you all of the band program, the chorus program, and the orchestra program. Yes, that's what we're looking for in that 6 minutes. You don't have to play entire pieces on the recording. It can be 30 to 45 seconds from this selection by your symphonic band, and then here's a 45 seconds to a minute from your jazz program, and then now here's a minute of the women's choir, and here's a minute of the men's choir, and here's the string ensemble. So it doesn't need to be, nor should it be, just 6 minutes of one particular ensemble. It should represent the whole group. That's all of the performing groups that are part of your program. Visual arts, you're uploading a video that has pictures of different student work. Similarly to what I just talked about with the music, if you're offering ceramics and 3D and digital art, and then we want to see some examples of each of those things. We don't want to just see all digital work. That would it's going to end up costing you points in the rubric because you're not showing all of the areas. Dance, we want to see more than just one 6-minute choreographed piece. Same thing for theater. If you can, it's a little harder with theater because maybe you don't have as many different opportunities to show, but if you can show you know, different scenes from within one production that you did recently, ideally we're looking for little snippets for each of those things. The next item down, Arts for All. So we're looking, that is a 10-point category there. We're looking it's a 200-word basically description of how you at your school are ensuring that all students have access to arts instruction. And I will tell you that the rubric allows for some flexibility in how that's scored. So if you just say all students are afforded opportunity to be mainstreamed into the music classes, that's not really, yes, that's really kind of an expectation. That's really kind of a minimum kind of answer. So how do you do that? Do you have a mentoring program, or do you partner people up? What are the things that you do to make sure that access is afforded to the students, and to encourage and develop that access? Then honors and achievements would be a list of things that your program has garnered. It can be ratings at music performance assessments for the music people. It can be ratings at Thespians Festival. It can be an honor that you were invited to perform at this particular event. So any kind of honors, special achievements that you that show the quality of your program, you want to include in that area. And then the last listing under this critical success factor is program assessment. And that is another opportunity where you're going to discuss and provide a list of different performances and opportunities that your students have participated in throughout the year. And we're looking for more than just, as I said before, talking about the Arts for All assurances, we're looking for more than just the minimum. The idea of the program is to recognize model school programs. So not just that, well, we do a winter concert and a spring concert and we go to MPA. What are some things that you do above and beyond that kind of set your program apart from just a normal program? And I'll let Julie kind of chime in on anything she wants to add to that success factor there.
Sure. With the program assessment, one thing I know that the reviewers look at is assessment from outside of the school. So who beyond the classroom teacher is providing that assessment? So that might be your state festivals or MPAs or solo and ensemble scores or things like that. Or are there, some districts some of the larger districts do end of course exams in the arts or benchmark assessments. So something, beyond a classroom assessment that the teacher has developed and given to the children. And you want it to be a concrete assessment, not just an observation. So that's important about the program assessment. And then back to the, there was something I wanted to say about student work, and it has slipped my mind. But that's all right. If I think of it, I'll come back to it. All right. So the next one is critical success factor number 4, your facilities, equipment, and scheduling. And this is worth 20 points. To demonstrate that you have model facilities and equipment, you are asked to provide a narrated video tour of your facilities and equipment. And we've seen, the teacher walk around with a phone video and here's my storage closet, and here's our collection of music, and here's our kiln, and here's our stage, and here's, and that's fine. It's very simple and basic. We've also seen some schools take it to the extreme and have the kids produce a great video with the kids being, in charge of talking to the audience and taking the group on tour, and more of a professional quality video, and that's fine too. There's no requirement for the quality of the video other than that the reviewer can accurately see what's being toured and assess it. I would point out that it is required that you demonstrate and show your ADA compliance so that, if you have a stage with stairs, show that students in wheelchairs are able to access the stage. If you have a classroom where movement would be happening, you want to make sure that you show clear pathways and that, any student, whether, if they have any kind of disabilities, they would still be able to fully participate in classroom instruction and activities. So that is part of the rubric and sometimes overlooked by the applicants when they're filming. So yes, those are important things. And then the art schedule is worth 10 points. And this is just simply an image of the schedule, and you can provide a written narrative description to the review team to help explain how to read and interpret the schedule. But they're looking mostly to see that what you've listed in your course descriptions actually occurs within the student day. They're looking to be sure that the arts teachers aren't expected to perform, duties that a regular classroom teacher wouldn't be expected to perform. Those are some of the things that they're looking at. And of course, we know that happens and it doesn't negate or, cause a school to not earn the designation, but getting the full 10 points if a teacher is, if the arts teachers are the only ones ever performing car rider duty and nobody else does, then that wouldn't be considered a model for other schools to replicate. All right.
All right, so before we go on to critical success factor number 5, one thing that I'm going to point out, I don't think we mentioned it, but as you're listening to all this information and going, wow, I got to do a tour of the facility and I got to do the video of the lessons. Back in the day, when this first started, we had reviewers running all over the state to go to schools to try and do these evaluations we found that wasn't the most effective thing to do. Plus, from a funding perspective, if we have to spend money to get all these reviewers to all these different schools, that cuts down on the funding that's available to provide to the schools that receive the designation. So what we're trying to do is essentially virtually get a glimpse into your program and your campus, and so that's why we want to see all these little different pieces. So critical success factor number 5, community connections. We are looking to find out what is your program's involvement within your local community. So first thing is a description of community connections and also providing some letters of community support. So the first part of that, the description of your community connections and partnerships, that is basically a narrative that you're going to write, talking about how you create partnerships or how community resources are used to enhance the student learning at your school, and basically, is there some kind of reciprocal approach? So different ways that you are having that impact in your local community. And then you're going to kind of verify that, if you will, by some letters of community support. And so you can upload up to 3 letters in support of your application in a single scan document from different community partners. Then the second part of this area is the mentorship opportunities and benefits. And so how is your program providing opportunities? How is it going to provide opportunities to mentor your identified partner school? So we haven't really talked about it yet, but part of the application is that you are identifying a partner school. And Julie, do we have a slide later on talking about that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Do we have a slide specifically talking about the identifying the partner school?
I believe so. I believe that comes later.
So we'll talk about that in a little bit, but you're going to describe, how the potential that you have there for mentoring your identified partner school.
All right, and before I move to the next one, I want to just mention one other thing about the letters of support. Kevin mentioned that you can upload up to 3 letters of support, and if you're applying for the designation in 4 content areas, you're going to want to be strategic about deciding who in your community you're asking to write those letters. You may want to ask one community partner to reference 2 of the content areas in their letter, and then find 2 other partners for your other 2 content areas. But sometimes we've seen applications not earn all the points in that category, because if they're applying for music and art and all 3 of their letters reference the music program, then that hurts the art portion of the application. So just be aware of that, and be strategic when deciding who to ask to write those letters for you. Okay, so next is school culture, critical success factors number 6. This is worth 45 points. And the first item is the school perceptions of the arts. And this is written by the applicant, describing the school culture from a staff member point of view. How are the arts demonstrated to be important among the faculty? How is it supported by the administration? Do other staff members participate in your activities and attend your events? Do students outside the arts programs come to your events? What is the perception of the arts from your standpoint? Then you have the stakeholder surveys, and this is worth up to 20 points. And this is an electronic survey. So once you submit your application from FAAE, you will get a unique survey link to blast out to your stakeholders. And part of the application requires that you identify how you're going to reach as many people as possible, so that everyone in your school has the opportunity to participate in the survey. Whether that be through a robocall from the principal, or if you post the link on your school's website, or e-blast it out if you communicate that way with all of your stakeholders. But that includes students, parents, and non-arts teachers. That's who we're looking to respond to that survey. And there is a required number of participants for the survey. I want to say that it's 20. Kevin, does that sound right to you? Okay, so the reviewers will make sure that you've had at least 20. And I can tell you, when I monitor the surveys, it won't be me moving forward, but I'll let my replacement know. When I monitor the surveys, if it's getting close to the deadline and I see, oh my goodness, the school only has 5 surveys submitted, I'll contact the school and say, hey, you may want to blast this out again, so that you don't lose any points on that for not having enough people respond to the survey. And then the points there are tallied based, there's an algorithm, I suppose would be the correct word, within the survey system that totals the points for us. So we just go and look at that data, and the points are totaled for us, and that becomes your score for that category. Then the next item is, I mentioned the survey distribution. So the description that you provide for how you're getting that survey out to all your stakeholders is worth up to 5 points. And then the 4th item is any school arts policies. I'm trying to think of an example of that. It might be, from an elementary music perspective, it might be that the principal has stated that when the elementary music teacher is recording all state auditions, that, to support them, that there can be no intercom announcements for that period of time, or I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. Kevin, do you have any examples for school arts policies?
One thing that I can think of would be like if your school hosts events, like maybe we have an all-county dance gala here in Polk County every year. The fact that a school is willing to host and open up its facilities for the use like that would be another kind of example of a policy where the arts are showing that they are important.
I've also seen schools submit their mission statements. Sometimes schools' mission statements will specifically reference the arts within their school-wide mission. So that would certainly be something you would want to include if that pertains to your school. But again, that item is worth 10 points, and you've got a total of 45 for critical success factor 6.
Okay, so what happens after in January when you submit that application? And now it's been submitted to us. So the application review process, we have a team of art experts, and essentially we have elementary and secondary experts in all 4 categories that are identified to us by the 4 different component organizations: FDEO, FMEA, FATE, and FAEA. Sorry. And then we also have another person on the or persons for general knowledge experts to help score some of the categories that aren't specific to each content. So, like, for example, the critical success factor number 1, the district and school letters of support, that's an overall letter of support for the school program. You may be applying for 2 different designations, but in that letter, the administrator should be talking about both programs. So that's not something that necessarily has to be reviewed by someone who really knows both music and dance. So that's how we go through the review process. Each reviewer scores the application independently, and then those scores are then submitted and averaged to find out if you reach the score that will meet the designation.
I'll also mention as part of the scoring process that if, well, never mind. I mean, I'm not going to mention that. Okay, moving forward, we have the FAMS designation. So how, once the scores are tallied, how do we know if you have earned the designation? So there are a total of 235 points possible throughout the application. If your school earns 212 out of a possible 235 points in a content area, then they earn the designation for that content area. So FAAE will manage tallying the scores, will combine the averages as Kevin mentioned, and determine the average total score. And we will then forward our recommendations to the Florida Department of Education based on the score totals, and DOE will review our recommendations. They do often ask us questions when they look at what's been submitted, and we talk through some things, and ultimately they have the final decision. And once they've given approval, an elementary school that has received a designation in at least, I'm sorry, that I skipped a step. Once the DOE has given approval, then you would, we will send out notifications. We'll post it on our website, and we'll also e-blast it statewide, announcing sometime in March. We don't give an exact date because it's very organic with the reviewers working all over the state. We have to wait for them to get information to us, and then it takes the DOE a little bit of time. So we give ourselves the entire month of March to work to announce that, but we try to do it as soon as possible. I can say it has been, by March 5th, the past 3 years, but we always shoot for earlier the better. And so if a school is an elementary school and they've earned the designation in at least 3 of the 4 disciplines, and secondary schools have earned the designation in all 4 disciplines, then those schools receive an additional recognition status as a Florida Arts Achievement Model School. And that's just an extra feather for their cap. And I mentioned already that the designees will be announced sometime in March.
Okay, so back towards the beginning when we were talking about the purpose of the Florida Arts Model Schools program, I mentioned that one of the main purposes is to be a model and a support to other schools. Well, one of the parts of that is that you are required to identify a partnership school, and that's part of the process, and that's something that DOE set for us. The partner school can be essentially any school that is trying to improve their arts program. They feel like it's underserved, maybe. It can be as extreme as they don't have that particular area. So I know, for example, one of the schools this past summer in theater, they had a theater program. The school that they had identified as a partner school did not have a theater program, and they are trying to start some things, starting with some after school kind of things at that school, but to try and then get to where they actually have a theater program at the school. That's kind of the extreme end. There's nothing there. We're trying to create something. But it can also be this school's has a dance program, but it's not flourishing, and we want to support them and partner with them to improve what they're doing. So the reason I'm mentioning that here is because what happens after you have been selected as a FAMS school? Congratulations. But now there are some expectations that go along with that designation. So the first thing is you are going to be expected to attend the FAAE Summit in June, and the dates are listed there, June 21st. It's really through the 23rd. We have partnership activity training. We develop the partnership plans and the budget over those 2 days, the 21st and 22nd. And then June 23rd is actually the recognition luncheon, where your school will be presented, be officially named a designee and presented with the award at that time. Then following the FAE Summit would be the implementation of your year 1 partnership activities or your partnership plan. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the funds that go along with that partnership.
Kevin, I'm not sure if we mentioned, I don't think we did. I'm not sure if it comes on a later slide, but the partnership is actually a 3-year partnership. That's why it says implementation of year 1.
Correct.
And here we go. So the FAMS partnership fund. So I know that's probably a question everyone has. It's not a lot. It's, it's certainly not going to be enough to hire a teacher and start a brand new program at your partner school. But there is some funding there to help and assist you in as creative a way as possible using the limited funds that are available. And again, this comes from the ACE grant that FAAE receives from the DOE, and these amounts are set by DOE. So year 1 is up to $2,000, and that's $500 per arts discipline. So if your school earns the FAMS designation for theater, you would receive $500 to support a partnership for theater with another school. If your school receives the FAMS designation for all 4 content areas, then you would receive $500 for theater, $500 for dance, $500 for music, and $500 for visual art, for a total of $2,000. And again, you'll find one school to partner with and develop that partnership with that school for all 4 content areas at the summit. In year 2, it's a little tricky. The way the grant language reads is you receive $150 total, not per content area, plus any remaining funds that were not utilized by the new designees. So in your year 2, if you earn the designation this year, there'll be a new batch of designees who earn it in 2019, and they're going to get the bulk of the funds, the up to $2,000 per content area. But if it's a year where we have fewer designees, there could be a lot of funds remaining that are available and would then be dispersed and evenly divided among any year 2 designees. So I can tell you the first time we had a year 2, there were less year 1 participants in the partnership program, and therefore our year 2 people ended up getting a little bit more money than they had in year 1. This year, our year 2 people are getting, I want to say it's $1,500. So you just never know, but the minimum is $150, and then hopefully there'll be some remaining funds, but that's not a guarantee. In year 3, it's a flat $150 to support the partnership, which if you have 4 content areas is not going to go very far, but that's the way the grant is written, and that's what you'll use. And the idea is, you know, kind of like the gradual release of responsibility. The designee is kind of serving as the mentor, and by, you know, each year within the partnership, they're becoming more independent and probably using less funds because there's less travel, there's less, you know, activities between the schools, and you're hoping to build an independence in your partner school.
Okay, so the recognition funds, you get paid those payments. So the money that Julie was just referencing is paid twice. So the payments are broken up into, for all of year 1, that $500 per content area, or $2,000 total if you get all 4 content areas. For each partnership is divided into a payment in the fall and a payment in the spring. So by October 1st each year, you get payment 1, and then by February 1st is payment 2. And there are, because it is DOE funded, you can guarantee that there are some reporting requirements to document those funds, and those are required to be submitted on time to ensure that the payments are made on time.
Okay, I'm going to back up and provide, let me just note, okay, it doesn't come later, so I want to just say a little bit more about these recognition payments. So payment 1 is automatic. It's to get you started in your partnership, and there's no requirement to receive that payment other than completing the partnership plan and budget during the summit at your training sessions. So that payment comes automatically. By December 1st of your participation year, you will have an activity and a budget report due from both schools. So the designee and the partner school will need to submit those reports with principal signatures and attach receipts and show how the money has been spent. Once that report is received and has been accounted for and audited by DOE and approved, that will trigger your second payment, which will occur by February 1st. The second payment will not be allowed to go out until we have the reporting documentation from the first payment approved. And the second payment goes out February 1st, and you have from February 1st through May 1st to spend the rest of the funds. And then on May 1st, you'll have your final activity and budget report due showing what's been spent from payment 2 for the remainder of the school year. And those reports will be discussed in detail at the training session should your school receive the designation. Okay, so partnership planning. There are funds provided through the grant for staff members from the designee and the partner school to attend the training, which occurs during the FAAE Summit. The funds will provide registration fees for one staff member per designated content area. So if you've earned the designation in 3 content areas, you can bring 3 staff members representing each of those areas, plus 1 school administrator from the FAM school, and also the partner school. So if you have earned, like I said, the designation for 3 content areas, you're bringing the 3 content area people from the FAM school, the 3 content area people from the partner school, and 1 administrator from each school. So you would have a total of 8 people attending the summit training sessions during the summit. Now, if your partner school does not have a teacher for that content area, they can identify someone else on their staff who is going to assume the responsibilities for that partnership. So if the idea is to help them with dance and they don't have a dance teacher, but they want to implement an after-school dance program as part of the partnership, then who is going to be the teacher in charge of that at the partner school? And that's who they would choose to bring to the summit. In addition to the registration fees, you receive, well, and let me back up. It says registration fees, and that's not really accurate. Registration is free for these people. It is not, it's not charged. So that comes across wrong. I want to correct that. The mileage is included for 1 car per school because we do want to be thrifty with the funds. So we will supply mileage expenses for 1 car per school. And then 2 nights hotel in a single occupancy room. So you do not have to share a room with your colleagues. You get your own room. And that's for school. All schools attending get those 2 nights. But if your school is 3 or more hours away from the location of the training, which is Fort Lauderdale, then you would get a 3rd night as well. And that is because we start in the morning, the training session, and we don't want people to have to be driving at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to get there. So we provide the night before for those people who are 3 or more hours away.
And I will say that one of the nice things, DOE doesn't necessarily always get nice things said about them, but I will say that they did previously. If you had if you got all 4 designations, it wasn't designed to where you had somebody from each of the 4 designations coming to the summit. Last year, we went to DOE and said, "Hey, we would like to change it to where it's this," and they agreed, and so. We're very appreciative of that because I think it provides for a more authentic planning session, training and planning sessions at the summit. So along those lines, at the summit in June, which if you're applying for the Florida Arts Model Schools program, you have the dates for the FAA Summit, which is a required training and partnership planning activity. That's a requirement as part of the designation. Those dates are available now. If you are applying for the designation, you need to have those dates put on your calendar so that you don't find out in March you got the designation and then say, "Oh, but I planned a cruise on that week and I can't be there," because now you're not qualifying for the designation because you have to participate in the training and planning session. So what happens at the FAA Summit is we have 2 training sessions that we provide, and then there are 4 planning session opportunities for you and your partner school to sit and work together and come up with your draft partnership plan and your draft budget. And those are both submitted at the end of that summit. So before you leave on Saturday, you submit those, and then we can go from there. It is a draft, and obviously that things can change once you get back to school in August and things get going. and so you say, oh, I think we've come up with some money to do this. We'd like to use this money differently. That's okay. They're draft budgets and partnership plans, but it's very important that you have those dates on your calendar so that everybody is planning to be there, including the administrators, an administrator from each of the schools.
All right, so if this sounds like something that you would like to move forward with, and we hope you will, their application process is open. It opened on Monday, and you can go into the FAAE site at any time between now and January 19th to work on submitting your application. So I want to take a minute to click on the link here and show you how that works. So this is the FAMS page from the FAAE website. So if you just go to faae.org, you can click on programs here at the top, and Florida Arts Model Schools is the second item, and that's the page that we're on now. And Kevin, can you confirm that you can see this?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right, so on this page, you've got a lot of information that we've already discussed today, but it's here for you in written format. And in addition to the content that's here for you typed out, I want to show you some important information here on the right-hand side of the page. So first is the 2018 Florida Arts Model Schools sample documents. And this is all 21 pages of FAMS application information. The first few pages are identical to what's on the web page. So if you wanted to print it, you could do that from here. And then here is the meat and potatoes, but realize that this is a sample document. This is not the application, but the application is submitted online. But when you go to submit the application online, this is the content you will see, and this is what you will be submitting, only in electronic format. And in a moment, I'll take you there to show you that as well. But I wanted you to see these sample documents are here. And most importantly, I highly recommend that you print the rubric. And here it is. You can see exactly what it looks like and how you will be scored and how those points are earned. So I highly recommend that you print that. And then here's a checklist for you. So when you're applying, you can go through this checklist and make sure that you've got everything ready to go by that due date. And the rest of this, oh, and here's an example of the lesson plan template that we talked about. So I'm going to go back to the main page, and from here I want to take you to the link to the Florida Arts Model Schools online application. Now this is where you need to apply. Now what you're seeing, because I have admin credentials, is going to look different than what you would see as an applicant, but I want to just show you that this is a separate page, and I apologize, it's running a little slow. Hopefully it'll pop up here in a minute. There we go. So as a new applicant, you'll need to, unless you've applied in the past and you're reapplying, you would need to create an account. So you'll create your account, and once you've done that, you will be given the option to apply either as a designee or as a partner school, and you'll click designee if that's what you're interested in, or partner school if that's what you're applying to do. And then it's all electronic. You go through and there's buttons on the side of the page that tell you the different areas of the application, and it shows you your progress. You can start and stop the application so you don't have to do it all at one time. It saves as you're working. So, you know, if you've worked on a ton and your computer crashes, it's okay. And that's due to our great friends and partners at the Center for Fine Arts Education for designing this page for us and making it so user-friendly. One thing I'll point out, there are a lot of video submissions with this application, and we require that you submit the links to videos. So an outside link, whether that be YouTube or TeacherTube or Vimeo, some sort of outside link, and it needs to be an open link so that our reviewers can access it. Sometimes we have schools submit links with private accounts and the reviewers can't get to it.
Right. And to jump in there on that, so for like a lot of people use YouTube, and that's a great one to use. You don't want to set it as a private video. You can set it as an unlisted video to where anybody with the link can access it. It's not public. You can't just go search on YouTube and find that video that way, but there is a link and anybody with the link can view it. If you set it as private, then that's where we get into problems and the reviewers can't see the video. Also, while we're on this screen right here, the partner schools application is in the same place. We talked about the partner schools. You get to identify your partner school and get them to apply. So a couple years ago, it was actually to where they were separate and then they got partnered up, and that created some geographical issues. And so that's just something I wanted to point out, that you should be soliciting and looking for a partner school that you want to partner with that makes sense for your program.
Thank you, Kevin. And I'll add to that. You'll need to ensure that whoever you have selected to be your partner, should you earn the designation, you need to make sure that they then go to this same website and complete the partner school application. And on their application, it will ask them who is going to be your partner school, and they would then list your school name, so that FAAE will know, okay, these two schools are working together. But there are two separate applications, one for the FAMS designation and one for a partner school. Another thing about partnering, when Kevin was talking about potential partnerships, another partnership that I think would be a good idea, and I don't think we've ever seen it, is partnering with a feeder school. So maybe you're the elementary school and you want to partner with your middle school, or vice versa, because that could help build or enhance your program too, if you're building the program that you feed into or that feeds into your program. We've never seen that, but I think that that could be an interesting take on the partnership. So I want to go back to the overview page, and I want to share with you this final link here. This is the Partner Schools program, which looks very similar to the FAMS designation program. This is an overview of the requirements to be a partner school. And really, the only requirement to be a partner school is that you are underserved, which means you have no more than one certified arts teacher on your staff, full-time certified arts teacher on your staff, or any school with a desire to enhance their current art offerings. So that's really flexible, and it wasn't always that way. So we're very thankful that we've been able to expand and offer this opportunity to more schools. So a lot of schools like that, because they can find now schools to partner with that are within their own district, and that solves many problems logistically, both with geographics and with budgeting issues, because every district has a different way of accounting. So within your own district is recommended, but not required. And then again, I need to have our web person add the link here. So there should be a link here for them to go back to that same site and apply as a partner school. So we'll get that put up for them as soon as possible. And again, the sample documents are here for the partner school, and their application, the first few pages look the same, but when you get to the sample application, you can see here's a letter of agreement for the principals to sign, saying that they're willing to work together. And then here's their application, and it's much more simple. It's just, what are your current offerings, and what would you like to do, and who's going to be your partner schools, and here's if you qualify or not, and some demographic information about the school. And that's pretty much it. It's not, there are no videos, there's no tour of the school, none of that. I think that is everything that I wanted to address. So I'm going to close this and go back to the main presentation and bring up our final slide, which is our contact information. You may want to screenshot this if you're able to do so that you can follow up with us later. And our great moderator today, Gary Ringler, is going to be archiving a recorded session from this presentation, and the link will be available on the FAAE website within the next few days. So you can refer back to this presentation, or if you know someone else who's interested in applying, you can send them the link or send them to our website so that they can access this information as well. You're free to reach out to us via email. Our email addresses are here for you, and we would love to help you with any questions that you have. And thank you so much for your time today. We hope the information has been helpful and informative, and we hope to see your applications in January. Kevin, did you want to say any final words?
No, thank you very much for attending, and please reach out to us if we can in any way be of assistance.
Okay, so thanks everybody for your time and attention today, and we'll look for your applications in January.